Welcome back to the Deep Dive. Today, we are taking a truly unparalleled look into a secret history.
It's the internal story surrounding the 1960 blessing, or wedding, of Reverend Sun Young Moon and Hak Ja Han Moon, father and mother.
And we're pulling this directly from the source material. We've got specific excerpts from a testimony they gave back in 1977, translated by Bol Haipak.
Right. And this gives us a window not into the public ceremony, but into the immense spiritual preparation, the personal tribulation, and really critically, the tests of faith required to fulfill their roles.
So our mission today is to distill the astronomical cost of what they call the heavenly mandate.
It is. And when you read these sources, the one question that just jumps out is, what were the hidden hardships?
What were the political and emotional circumstances that surrounded the selection and, the maturation of the heavenly bride?
Exactly. This is not a story about a glorious, easy selection. It's a story defined by profound, relentless sacrifice.
And to really grasp the magnitude of that, you say we have to start well before Mother was even born.
Way before, in the sort of clandestine spiritual groundwork that was laid by others.
Okay, let's unpack that, the spiritual prelude. Because we often think of preparation for a messianic figure happening in, conventional Christian churches.
But the sources paint a very different picture of Korea at the time.
How so?
Well, the history points to these special spiritual groups. They weren't just following the established Bible. Their mission was to receive direct revelations from God.
And these revelations were for a specific purpose.
A very specific purpose. To prepare for the Lord of the Second Advent, and crucially, to find and identify the heavenly bride. And this was a path of suffering, what the sources call indemnity.
That's a term that comes up a lot. For the listener who might not be familiar, what do the sources mean by indemnity here?
In short, it's the principle that a spiritual debt or cost has to be paid. It's paid through suffering or difficulty to restore something that was lost.
So these groups were literally taking on spiritual burdens and pain.
Yes, paying the cost to make the ground clean for the coming Lord and his bride. And they paid a steep price.
A very steep price. Many died in prison or in, really unfortunate circumstances because of their faith in the political environment.
Exactly. But despite all that suffering, they had prepared everything, spiritually and even materially. Things like food and clothing for the Lord they believed was coming.
And this is the lineage that Mother was born into.
Precisely. She inherited a mission that had already spanned 3 generations of this intense spiritual preparation.
The prophecy gets incredibly personal here. Her birthplace in South Pyongyang wasn't just random.
No, not at all. That area, Pyongyang-Namdo, was prophesied in these traditions to be the New Jerusalem.
And the alignment is, it's staggering.
It is. Not only the same province, but born on the exact same day as father.
Wow.
And this destiny was recognized very early on. The sources say a spiritualist recognized Mother when she was just 6 years old and proclaimed she was destined to be the bride of the Lord.
That is an immense weight to put on a child, especially under the Japanese occupation in North Korea, where this kind of faith was almost impossible to practice.
Right. And she didn't even meet Father until after her family fled the North for Seoul.
She was just 13.
Just finished 6th grade, yes. And she encountered Father after joining the church with her mother.
And Father's reaction to meeting her is one of the most remarkable moments in the sources.
It really is. He asked her name, closed his eyes to meditate, and then just proclaimed, "Oh God, you have given such a woman, Hak Jae-han, to this country of Korea."
And she said she felt this strange certainty in that moment.
She did. She knew somehow that this religious leader had received a specific revelation about her future.
A divine recognition that just completely overrides the obvious differences in their ages and social positions at the time.
Absolutely. So fast forward a few years, she's in high school living this quiet preparatory life. And then in 1960, just 1 month before the blessing, the official notification arrives.
And it didn't come as a proposal, did it?
No, it was framed as a heavenly mandate to prepare for the engagement and the wedding.
Her internal response, according to her testimony, was just total submission. She said, "Who am I to decide? I shall be his servant. I shall obey in everything."
It's fascinating when you consider the persona she had built up until that point at age 18.
Quiet, tranquil, intellectual.
Very. Enjoyed reading and music. The sources even say she was almost scornful of the world of men, living, like a nun.
It was a conscious purification,
Uh-huh.
a heavenly preparation.
Exactly. Which makes the announcement all the more jarring. Here's Father, age 40, a major providential age, choosing this relatively unknown 18-year-old.
And it created what the sources call a massive shockwave through the church.
It wasn't just surprise, it was immense disappointment, disillusionment. Father himself admits that the hopes of many were betrayed.
That's a strong word, betrayed.
Yeah.
Why were so many people so convinced that they or their daughters were the potential candidate?
Well, that goes back to the theology. The Messiah is seen as the bridegroom to all humankind. So many families, especially those who had paid so much indemnity, had received their own revelations that their daughter could be the one.
So you have all these parallel expectations running at the same time.
You do. You have families who believe their daughters were chosen. You have these spiritual old ladies, these prophetesses, who felt they should have been the ones to decide the bride.
And their authority was just bypassed.
Completely. And then you just had the logical expectations.
Of course, people were probably expecting a mature woman, maybe 30 or 40 years old.
College educated, from a good background, someone ready for the immense leadership role of being the mother of the world.
And the choice of a quiet, isolated 18-year-old just shattered all of that.
It shattered everything, the collective spiritual and logical expectations of the entire community.
It sounds like an almost impossible environment to start a marriage in. And this leads us right into the deepest part of the sources, this 7-year testing period.
Which was arguably more difficult than all the preparation that came before it.
The public view was what? That she was born perfect and was now just enjoying this glorious position.
Right. But the reality she testified to was that she bore an incredible cross. She felt the standard of perfection was, well, basically impossible to reach.
And Father reveals something absolutely crucial here. This difficulty was intentional.
Entirely intentional. He never explained it to her at the time, but his strategy was that the path of restoration must begin from the very bottom, the lowest possible point.
So no comfort, no glory. Just immediate, severe testing for both mother and her own mother, grandmother Hong.
He crushed any expectation of privilege. Grandmother was basically confined, told that if she wanted to see her daughter, she had to come secretly through the back door.
Putting her in a position that attracted zero envy.
None. And Mother herself was treated, and the sources say this, almost like a servant instead of a wife for that first year. They say the honeymoon was an ordeal.
What was the goal of all this?
Pure perseverance. They could not complain. They could not rebel. They had to accept this degradation and embrace the very people who felt betrayed. Father calls it handling the Cain and Abel situation.
They had to suffer for the disbelieving older brother Cain.
Right. And since Father was already established, the test had to focus on the person just starting the journey, Mother.
It's just a staggering weight.
Yeah.
And it went on for 7 years. Father called it her training session, her fishing expedition.
He even breaks it down. The first 3 years were for her own personal victory as an individual woman winning over Satan. The next 4 years, the test expanded to the whole family.
The thing that's hard to grasp is why Father couldn't have just given her some explanation, some comfort.
And that is precisely the core of the test.
Ah.
He states it explicitly in the source material. He could not say to her, I'm doing this on purpose, you just have to persevere.
Because if he had
given her that comfort, the victory would have been partially his. It wouldn't have been valuable enough for heaven. She had to do it in silent faith, with no external assurance. The victory had to be wholly her own.
And during all this, the pressure was constant. The rumors.
The rumors persisted, accusations that she was a failure, that Father would choose a new bride, that she even fabricated the shared birthday prophecy.
And her only option was silence and patience.
Total silence, total patience. She had to endure it, trust the mandate, and maintain her faith. And eventually, that silent perseverance is what reversed the whole environment.
From accusation to admiration.
Yes. People slowly came to acknowledge she really deserves to be mother of the universe.
And Father defines this entire agonizing process as the cross of love.
It's a fierce internal battle. It's about restoring the core of love and heart for heaven by conquering selfishness and historical failure from the lowest position.
It's incredible. And despite feeling, as she put it, plucked from a greenhouse and thrown into a desert.
What a searing analogy that is.
It is. She said she felt God's grace and guidance constantly, and that now all those painful memories have transformed into joy that she can share with Father.
That transformation of pain into joy, I think that's the universal lesson here. What does this history mean for you, the listener, navigating your own challenges?
Right. The sources are so emphatic on this point about where spiritual strength comes from. The blessing of the heavenly throne is not given from the top.
It's not given from the most comfortable position. It must be won at the lowest level of human misery.
And why? What's the reason for that requirement?
So that the blessing can last forever and embrace all of humankind. Every single person, no matter their suffering. Blessings have to start low.
And Mother's message about maturity is just as pointed. To reach heaven, to become a strong, wholesome person, you have to taste the dungeons of hell too.
And the practical application here really comes down to selflessness. Father asks the key question, what if Mother had complained?
Or reacted quickly.
She would have lost her position completely. Self-centeredness, rebellion, complaining in a time of trial that results in losing your position. You fail the test.
Mother even uses a specific example from that time, that notoriously difficult fishing expedition.
Right. She says that moment when you thought, why is Father asking us to do this ridiculous, impossible thing? That is the very moment you have to stop that hasty judgment.
You have to internalize it.
You internalize it, you call on God, and you think, this is the time I must prove how worthy I am. That perseverance turns the difficulty into joy. It sets your spiritual foundation.
Her 1977 testimony ended with tears, didn't it?
It did. But they were tears that held both the sorrow for the path they had walked and the joy of a definitive victory, and she made it clear. From that moment on, she only wanted to discuss the victorious future.
It just reinforces the big takeaway. Any position of real spiritual authority is always earned from the bottom up, through absolute silent endurance. The cost is astronomical.
It demands everything.
And that brings us to the final provocative thought for you to carry from this deep dive. Mother had to persevere without any explanation or comfort, ensuring her victory was completely and solely her own.
A critical point.
So the question is, if real victory relies on that kind of personal perseverance, without external assurance, how often do we make hasty judgments and abandon a difficult path simply because we don't have a full explanation of its purpose?
Or because we lack a guarantee of eventual success. Something to truly meditate on the next time you face a challenge that seems illogical.
That's our deep dive for today. Thank you for joining us as we explore this profound and challenging secret history. We will catch you next time.